Thank you so much for joining me here, Chris, today. I really appreciate it. I'd love to just jump right in and, get started with, you telling me what it is that you do and, how it started.
Well, what I do is fix people who are having trouble, mental, emotional, or physical. They can have, if you like, nervous disposition for years and years and years, and you can show them how to remove it completely so it doesn't come back. Same with physical injuries. They may have had them for years, and you can show them how to take the injury away so it's not playing them up anymore. So that's just a rough. So it's emotional, physical, mental, and most people have got problems like that, one way or the other.
Right. And how do you usually approach this? What's your general method?
Well, the general message is that if somebody's been here, there, and everywhere, and taking all kinds of tablets, if you like, you find out the root cause. Now, what would upset you wouldn't upset me. So it's an individual thing. So they may have a root cause which stems from the childhood, and they carry this right through into the future. So you find out what the root cause is by asking people, and then instead of giving them all kinds of, have you thought of this, have you thought of that, you just show them how to remove it.
Okay, wow. And how did you get started in this line of work? How did this come about?
Well, due to my great age, when I was a child, I could always sort of sort people's problems out for them, even when I was a little kid. And then I've studied EFT, NLP, neuro-linguistic programming. I've got a master's in clinical hypnosis, and so on and so forth. There's a whole raft of things I've studied, and through all of them, the end product is the individual thinks of a thing or feels a thing in a different manner to what just one program would fix. So you can use about 3 programs. At this moment in time, there's a favorite thing called EMDR, eye movement desensitization. Oh, you heard of it? Great. Reprocessing. Now, apparently on the NHS, in the mental hospitals, etc., there's over a 12-month waiting list to get to see people for doing this, which is a shame, really, because you could really help them with that. But that's one thing. Now, if you combine that with Chinese medicine, which is called Qigong, energy therapy, and using the acupressure channels, it gets shifted. Well, crikey, it can take about 20 minutes, half an hour to shift the problem. As an example, on Monday evening, I was doing a little event, and there was 10 people turned up to this. It's a person I know who tries to help people. And out of the 10, there was 8 of them who had took the problems away in a period of about 2 hours, because they were willing to stand up and talk to people.
That's amazing. And I know that I've obviously, so EMDR is familiar to me, but for the people watching, I'd love for you to just kind of touch back on that and expand on that a little bit more. What is EMDR and how does it help?
Well, if I can explain it in a Chinese method of stuff, you've got 3 brains. You've got this one. Now, they don't use this in our type of medicine, in other words, Western. Thinking brain, emotional brain, gut brain. So by using a combination of EMDR, eye movement desensitization and reprocessing, and the Sanyao channel, and asking them the question of what describes the problem they've got, you use those 3 things, if you like. Now, EMDR is, doctors do it normally with a light and follow the light. I don't use that method. I use a method where I get them to do it all, where they actually activate this side of the brain, which is the, if you like, the logical brain, but this eye goes across to the other side of the brain, which is the creative brain. And women are very good at creativity, because the corpus callosum in the center of the head, which divides the left brain from the right brain, is bigger, so they can think all over the blooming place, whereas men tend to think down the logical thing. So what you do is you give them movements of the eye to activate the right side of the brain, which is the creative, and the left side of the brain, which is the logical type of things, adding up and things like that. And then you then get them to do a thing which is purely, if you like, creative, because there's no words to it. Then you give them one where there's words to it, which is reactive. Then, and you're using this tapping method on the Sanyao channel, then you stop, and the brain then goes, well, hang on, what's coming in? Is it creative? Is it logical? Then he thinks back and says the last thing the person said, not you trying to help them, the person said is, do you want this to go away now and not come back ever again? 3. And he goes, got it, and shifts it. It sounds daft, but it works.
Well, no, that's amazing. That's amazing. And thank you for explaining that. I just wanted to touch on the business, in terms of the business side of things. How did this passion for helping people, how did it come out into an actual business? How did you decide that?
Well, I ran my own business, electronics, for about 30 years. Then I was doing business support management, dragging people out of problems and trying to get them funding for it. And it's probably about, 40 years ago, I started doing this, not as a business as such, but, sort of helping people who were in business, because I was doing a business side as well. Right. So for the last probably 10 years, at least, probably more. So I had an event on in 2009 for extraordinary works and perceptions, and there was an article done on me by Hope University, and that's where the first event was, and that was in 2009, and it was from all kinds of different things, like not just our medicine, but Chinese medicine and so on and so forth.
Wow.
So probably the first event I had, which was the psychiatrist, psychologist who had done me and filmed me looking at people, helping them. That was 2007. So you can probably say I've been doing more of that since the year 2003, something like that. So it's roughly about 20 years, but I've been doing it for donkey's years,
Wow. I mean, that's amazing. And to be honest, the switch as well from the electrical business to what you do now is actually quite a big jump. I just did want to touch on the question that you said that you found the person that you found most inspiring to you over the years. I know that you answered that question with a lot of variety. You said there were a couple of coaches, couple of people. It depends on their impact on the health society. So is there anybody in particular that you'd like to speak about?
No, not really. There's a fellow called Dr. Jerry Allen Johnson in America. Excuse me. We call them GPs, they call them MDs over there, medical doctor.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
And he's also does Qigong. Qi is energy and Gong means working with it, roughly translated, which is an energy therapy which uses the channels of the body and other systems as well. Now, he's had good success with, obviously, that type of medicine. He studied it all over the world. Now, he's written books on it, which I'll show you one. I thought I'd keep this just in case you may ask.
Ooh.
Yeah, that's one. Right. There's 5 volumes of that. So can you see that? Sorry.
Wow. Yeah. Chinese dragon.
Yeah, that's it. Well, funny enough, my sign in Chinese for the year is the dragon, believe it or not. So,
oh, wow. Well, that's a great sign to have, isn't it? I think everybody would like something like that. I think mine's a rabbit.
Anyways, there's 5 volumes of this.
Wow.
So there's about 500 pages of volume, but good stuff. Obviously, some of it's funny language when you think, well, what the hell is he going on about there?
And what's his name? Sorry. What's his name? Dr.
Jerry Allen Johnson, and I look up, and it's PhD, DTCM, DMQ, and then brackets China.
That is a lot of letters.
Yeah, a lot of people put a lot of letters after the names, and it doesn't mean a carrot. But with him, he actually has done some good stuff.
Wow, that's amazing. Thank you. And another question that I'd like to touch on, of course, is something that I do ask quite a lot of people, and I love it just because I get so many varied responses, and it gives a real insight into people's, not just their business journey, but their life journey. And it's about the things that they've overcome, the biggest issues that they've overcome and how they've overcome it. And I'd love for you to share with us, what issues that you've overcome in the past, and maybe see how.
Primarily, getting doctors to do the right thing for my children and my wife, where they've dropped some terrible clangers. Sounds sad, but that's what's actually happened. So that does help as well, because if you're going in to see a doctor, there's no use being nasty and snarly. You've got to play it in a correct manner, which works, which gets them to understand what they need to do, where they've been leaving somebody or they've made an error on an analysis of the person. And God help them, they've got loads and loads and loads and loads of people all the time. But if they do, as an example, he misdiagnosed my wife 20 years ago, and she had meningococcal meningitis. Now, if I hadn't gone in and collared the two young doctors, nice little guys, so June was 60 then, and she's now she's over 80 now. And if I hadn't gone in and collared them and said what they were doing, and you use a certain method, and you think it just comes to you. And with them, because they were two Indian young doctors, and when I couldn't get a proper answer out, I thought, how am I going to get around these to move and do something? So I just went, when I said, well, what's happening then? He said, oh, we don't know. So I just said, so we all have to say a little prayer then, do we? Never seen him move so fast in my life. So it's just a technique that you try and employ to get them to do something. What they've done, they put her in a room to die, because they said they couldn't get a check. They thought she had a stroke. And I said, I can tell you for definite she didn't have a stroke. I was talking to her okay this morning, and this, that, and the other. And I said, so, well, we can't do the scan for whatever reason come up with. So I said, well, what's the prognosis? Their word, prognosis, And then he said, oh, well, we just don't know, he said. And I said, use this Namaste thing like that, because they were Indian. And I thought, possibly they are Indian. Use that. I said, oh, so we'll all have to say a little prayer then, will we? Never seen him move so quick in my life. Got the head guy down, checking her out. He said, do you think we should take her into the intensive care unit? It'd be a good idea. Would you like to come up? I had a shirt and tie on, the suit then, by the way. And I was 20 years younger. And so I looked like a human being. And so I went in, up the thing. Yeah, okay. Do you think we should put a tracheotomy in? And I thought, hang on, you must think I'm a blooming doctor or something here. I said, yeah, I think that'll be a good idea, because she's gasping, dying, you see. And then he said, well, would you like to stay while we put it in? And I said, I'm totally confident in your ability to do it. In other words, you're on their side all the time. You're encouraging them to do something. And that was just one instance. I had another one where one of my youngest son got this rare disease called Wilson's disease. And the doctor there was a really good GP. And when he went down and got the blood tested and everything, sent him away. And then he deteriorated and went right downhill like that. And when I went in to see the doctor said, oh, I'm awful sorry. He said, when the blood's come back, on the copper elements in the blood, it was 500. And it should have been 50. I thought it was a misprint. So that never got followed up. Right. So I've spent quite a few, you say about myself, no, I've not really had any problems. I always sort myself out, but other people have been fighting the cause in the nicest possible way for them. That includes my stepfather, my son, another son who they made a mess of liver-wise, another son who they made a total cancer job, made a mess of that, and my wife. So, but it's not a problem because I can normally get them to do something. Whereas with regards to myself, no, touch wood and whistle, I'm okay.
Wow. I mean, and so do you think that's changed your view of Western medicine and in a way contributed to your passion towards your business and what it is that you do?
One of the things, it probably did in a way, but not so much that, because what it is with doctors, they're taught a set thing, right? And they normally go along that path. Anything it's changing now because they are doing different types of things now. They have, well, you have quite a few things on the NHS now. I've done some stuff for the NHS in the past, but then what they do is they say we've run out of money for health and well-being for the nursing staff. Well, to me, that's the most important part of the hospital, to the nursing staff. But they had me fixing people there, nurses who had lots of different problems. And then they said, oh, we've run out of the money now, we've had to support them and increase stuff, so it's fine. So it is difficult. They're also skeptic because they are taught to do it this way. So anything that is relatively different, not just new, but different.
Yeah.
The tendency they wait around.
Yeah, absolutely.
Probably
yeah, for sure. And I feel like a lot of people do have a similar story. And in a way, you know, the world is kind of moving towards more of a holistic approach in terms of like healing, in terms of the way that they view health, the way that we view our bodies and things. And I know, especially even with the rise of, you know, popularity of things like yoga and, you know.
Oh yeah, yoga's been going for a good amount of years in this country now, and the people accept that.
Yeah, absolutely. And I feel
a bit different.
Yeah, but I mean, that's amazing. I'm just conscious of time now, but I would just like to ask, a final thing, like if there's anything else that you'd like to add in terms of the newsletter for our listeners and for people readers. Do you have any favorite quotes or sayings that you'd like to share with us? Anything inspirational before we bring this to a close?
The quote saying is Yoda. There is no try, just do. So if you've got a problem, do it. Look at it and do it. And it doesn't have to be in a medical profession. It can be any profession, financial or health-wise, or if you like, just running a business as such. And you're thinking about go on your gut feeling, right? Because a lot of people go, I've got this gut feeling I should do this, do it. I've got this gut feeling I shouldn't. Now, I found out recently that this gut has got 500,000 neurons.
Wow. I know. So that's relates to what you were talking about, the gut brain, right?
Yeah. And the heart brain has got 40,000 neurons. This brain apparently has got about 8 million. So this is all the time. Drop it to the heart, drop it to the gut, and this goes, oh, what are you messing about, brain? You're taking too much information in, and we'll help to shift it for you.
Wow. Well, that's amazing. I mean, I definitely feel like I'm going to take that into my life. But thank you so much. Thank you very much for being here today and sharing a bit about your story. It was great to hear your experience.
If you ever need anything like that, when anything's bugging you, totally confidential. And if you like, we can do it over the phone like this.
Thank you, Chris. That's amazing. Well, amazing.